Welcome back, everyone, to the final game of today. Shopify going up against M80 here on the NAL. So far, the games, this is like, I'm saying this every single game today. Oh, it's been pretty one-sided so far. It's going to get a little bit closer. It's been pretty one-sided. It's going to get closer. I'm not saying that anymore because I've been jinxing this time and time again. So instead, I'm just going to talk about M80 and the battle for first place in regular stage because both of these teams, Lax, have been undefeated so far, but obviously that can't continue.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to more focus on M80. I think they're delivering on the expectations that we wanted to see from them from the first stage, where at least now here for Shopify, this is just another day in the office in terms of group stage performance. They were dominant all last stage, and they're looking to make that exact same statement here by getting this win over M80.
Yeah, a little bit of best of one Andes, but, you know, in a good way. It's going to come to best ofs at some point, and we'll see how they perform there. But instead, M80 is going to be the first roster that we're going to be looking at. Not any changes from what we've seen from stage one, except for the fact that the roles have been a little bit more spiced up.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it for so long now. The utility that M80 has been trying to bring, them being on more flexible operators. I mean, we've been seeing it, and I think we saw it in their most recent games. That stage 2 has just been a completely different M80. Everyone's felt so comfortable in their utility game, being able to play off of the utility, not being so frag orientated and having more of their arsenal, being able to flex it. And against Dark Zero, that's exactly what we saw. They were so smart with how they wanted to play retakes, specifically in round 2 and round 4 that we're about to see, them being down in a 3v5 man advantage, understanding, okay, we can just play for the defuse. Let's focus up, wait for time, and as soon as they go for the execute, they're already played in the right position. They have complete yellow control. And then we see round 4. They're in a 4v4 situation. They're playing for the denial of this diffuser. Panda gets a nice kill through the floorboards. That was going to be the first opportunity to stop the plant. Now look, Tachanka's there. 22 seconds left on the board. Dark Zero has to scramble because M80 has so much utility. And where is the rest of M80? They're all playing back because they know that Dark Zero has to scramble. They're completely tucked up. They decide to play a little crossfire, and Diffuser does the rest. He's able to get the kills. And this only works. You watch clips like this. Oh, Diffuser getting a huge 4K. You watch him and say, how is this possible? And it's because they're playing off of the back of the utility, forcing the other team to make the mistake, and they're sitting pretty waiting for it. And that was such a huge game from Diffuser himself as well, because he was just playing behind that utility, doing what he does best, and that is the whole game plan from M80. Run more utility, force teams out of their comfort zone, which DZ going for the setup, that is their comfort zone. So forcing them out with the utility puts M80 in the winning spot to be able to take advantage of the one situation that you can never predict, which is the end game, that post-plant situation.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit more difficult to do against a team like Shopify Rebellion, because if there's anything that I would put synonymous with this team, it would be consistency.
Yeah, I mean, and very resilient, as we saw in some of their previous games.
Yeah, you had
but
a whole, like, 3-word sentence, whatever.
The triple R. But no, I mean, Shopify, I mean, they're the GOATs of the group stage. That's really how you have to put it. I mean, you compare last stage, absolute dominance. This stage, you know, it was a little bit questionable their first 2 matches. They did go very neck and neck. But then their last 2 games that they previously played, I said I wanted to see lights out performance, and that's exactly what they delivered. Very strong games, very strong showings, and even for a player like Surf that we don't get to highlight too often, having very big performances. Everybody across the board on this roster is the reason why it contributes to as the reason why they're the GOATs of the group stage.
Yeah, let's have a look at the stats as well when it comes to where these individual players actually rank and how they have been performing in the league, because they're walking away with, like, the majority of the top spots.
Listen, you don't keep making history going 14-0. I think they're the only team in history that is continuing this run going. But again, you have to contribute it to all 5 of the players. Unfortunately, one couldn't be this close with another, but you got Ambi in first. You got Surf in third, Spoit in 7th, and we got to throw Rexon in there at 11th. I mean, this is a huge reason as to why we hype this team up. We talk about how good this team is. We talk about the resilience within it, because all 5 of these players, their individual prowess speaks into existence just in terms of their performance. I mean, you just watch these guys and you kind of just in awe at half the plays they make. I mean, Ambi has made tons of plays throughout last stage that we were just left questioning, like, what just happened? How was he able to do that? And then even Surf's big ace in that game versus Cloud9 was instrumental in terms of how well he played that position and given those 1v1s engagements he was able to take. But it's nothing to take away from what Spoit and Rexon are able to do. I believe Rexon has one of the most MVPs on this roster. But again, you know, it speaks into why they're the GOATs. Then you look at the stats from across all the teams in the NAL. They're second in attack, first in defense, second in KD, first first in opening kills, and then they're second in conversion. So the reason for them being GOATs is literally exactly everything that I'm talking about. You can't question this team, whether on paper, whether on stats. They are the GOATs of the group stage. It's just a matter of can they push themselves and make that statement in playoffs. That's left to be unseen, but at least in this matchup, let's see it be displayed.
You know, if I was an investor and this was the pitch that you're giving me to like invest in your team, like you can have all the money. Like don't, you know, that was really good. You sold me on SR, even though, you know, they have been quite consistent and I didn't really need any selling. But the map veto, again, is going to be really important here as well, Foxhate, in regards to who is going to be able to at least get the upper hand. But when it comes to both of these teams, is there genuinely maybe one more that's favorable for the other?
Not necessarily. I would like to see M80 go to a map that's more small. I guess a chalet, a border, maybe even a clubhouse or a skyscraper, one of the smaller maps, because we saw throughout this stage, the only time where Shopify has looked a little shaky was on border in their first play day against Wildcard, and that was because of the map, because it forces all of the players to have to go for gunfights and be in situations where Canadian has to be able to micromanage a lot of hot moving areas one after the other. So if I'm M80, I'm trying to go to a map like that, hopefully not Bank, because M80 has not necessarily looked. Okay, and we're going to Labs. Okay, sorry, I got scared for a second. I thought it was going to be Bank.
Why are you scared?
I thought it was going to be Bank, but I did not see that they banned it on the 4th ban. But Labs makes a lot of sense. I mean, it is a bigger map. I feel like this favors Shopify Rebellion a little bit, even though it is a comfortable map for both teams. What do you think?
Honestly, I like this map pick for M80. Granted, you got to think, M80 was the first team to actually beat Shopify. First in playoffs. It was, like I said, it was in playoffs. It was on Chalet. They did only lose this map 8-7, well 7-8 to Shopify the last time they played it. So it doesn't surprise me that both these teams are allowing this map to go through, because I believe they both think that they can exploit and fix where they went wrong, and then, like I said, also exploit the other team and how they can approach certain things. So if I was an M80, if I'm riding on one team, honestly, I would feel more comfortable on the team that did lose, because they're going to be looking at it at a deeper depth of why they lost and what they did wrong, where things happen. And 9 times out, well, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say 9 times out of 10, but the majority of the time, a team that loses that map then comes back to rematch it, they typically are the ones that walk away from it. And given how well M80 has looked, and especially, like I said, making that centerpiece of Kino be more that staple piece that isn't moving around where everyone else can find that comfort, and as you're talking about, they are finding more comfort, it does leave me to believe M80 can get this win over SR into this Night Haven.
So does that mean that for your prediction, you're also putting down M80? Like, do you want to put it on paper?
It's a tough one, but I am going to swap to M80. It's not that I don't believe in the reigns of Shopify Rebellion and being 14-0 and that they can't push a 15. I just feel more comfortable.
If anybody can do it, it will be M80, because I agree with the changes of Kino being a more supportive role. The map is really set up for the way M80 wants to play. But also, when you just highlighted everyone from Shopify Rebellion, who is the one player that you forgot? Canadian.
Right.
And this is a map that primarily, if you have a great Monty player, Blackbeard player, pushing, it makes things that much easier. So it's already scary for Shopify if they have all 4 players shooting. If they have the 5th one, Canadian, being able to lead the charge, I'd assume that he's going to be the main factor that M80 tries to target, get him out the gate, maybe ban some shields, just so they don't have to worry about that IGLing from behind the Monty shield.
I love how you're both on the same wavelength. It's
well, hey, that's the first time I saw it was on Chalet. They exploited that, took Troy out of the picture, and they immediately crumbled. And then those last 2 games, Border and Night Havens, were both 8-7. So it's left up to interpretation.
We'll see whether or not DZ versus Oxygen repeats, where the team who lost last time wins this time around. Whether or not, but one of these teams, their undefeated streak is going to get broken today. M80 against Shopify Rebellion. Our final game of the day, covered once again by our wonderful casters, Ollie and Jesse. So guys, I would actually really like to hear your predictions as well here.
Ginny's been forcing predictions out of her all evening, Jesse, and I'm exhausted.
Cheers.
Who do you think's going to win?
Our desk seems to favor M80 in this matchup, but I'm a simple man. I see a 15-game win streak, and I'm going to back it for a 16th. Shopify Rebellion have never in organizational history lost a best of one. They were, of course, flawless 9-0 in stage 1, 2-0 in EWC, and 4-0 to start this second stage. So you got to be favoring SR, at least if you're following the numbers. M80 are a very tough opponent, though, and if it was going to break, this would be where it breaks. Our last 2 undefeated teams in the North American League Stage 2, who will come out on top? Who will be, at least temporarily, the best team in North America? America. This is the game we have been waiting for. It's on the same map as our last one, Nighthaven Labs, and the bans will be very standard, with both electricity operators being banned on defense and hard breach operators being banned on the attack.
That's a really great speech, but it's still not an answer. Are you committing to Shopify?
I answered, yeah. I believe in the 15-0 record. I think SR will win their 16th BO1 in a row.
I'm inclined to agree, and I don't know why. But M80 have been showing us some fantastic promise this stage. Clearly putting a lot of work in the off-season. In hindsight, maybe not going to EWC was a good thing for them because it gave them a little bit more time to focus and to sort of refine themselves a little bit ahead of stage 2. I'm sure, of course, they would still rather have gone, but you've sometimes got to find blessings and silver linings in these sorts of things. And Labs for the second time tonight, well, you can give me Labs all night. It's one of my favorite maps. No complaints here at all from me. M80 started off on the defense, Shopify on the attack, double hard breach and double denial. So we will be forced into slightly alternate means. Obviously, the Hibana is still available for the meanwhile, and Gavini is going to take advantage of that while it is up. But it may well be one of those games where we see all 3 primary hard breaches banned and are left with the Maverick as the option, but at least for now, that isn't going to be the case. The bright side, I think, for M80 there, is that they are going to have a few shields allowed through. So Kino, not wasting any time, going to be choosing the Monty here to kick things off. Of course, we've already seen a lot of shield play, and there's probably going to be some direct comparisons given that Labs was the previous game that we watched, Jesse. And it'd be nice to see some teams that tend to trend toward the top end of the leaderboard, attacking it and defending it for a change.
Yeah, immediately we're seeing how good you can be on the hard breach on this map. Gavin, not an easy task getting the wall softened up with the Hibana, as Shopify Rebellion had used some shotguns to make it a little bit more awkward to get those pellets on the very top and very bottom, but Gavin gets it done all the same, so not going to be deterred by that play. It's the reason why SR didn't choose to ban out the Hibana, instead went Ace and Thermite. Was they were hoping they could deny the Hibana trick, but not so successful, unfortunately, for their first attempt. Good util clear to come through, as the connector will be the primary focus of this push. Kino on that Monty with defuse kit, as you highlighted. He's been kind of shifted onto the primary shield role this stage. It was hot and cold in stage 1, but deciding it'd be better if Kino takes the reins, and I think they've seen a lot of great improvement because of that. Even if he can't reach the barbed wire.
Maybe hot and cold was the better choice.
He had longer arms, you see.
I think he was worried about whatever it was that was above. Toxic Babe canister there. Brilliant use of the secondary EMP. But the Clash immediately greeting him. Now, this is Diffuser's job, really. We commented in the previous game about how Buck is maybe a little bit old hat when dealing with the Vert. And Deimos with a shotgun is often a better prospect, but it doesn't matter. You're just going to get domed like that by the SMG-11 Surf. Bringing the pain to Diffuser. Canadian. The desk was speaking about his prowess on the attack with those shields, but there is, of course, the shield on the defense. And on the Clash, he is controlling that electrical room very well. Ambi, bit of an overswing there and immediately punished by hot and cold. But it might be all that is found right now, because M80 really not in a great position. This Monty is not having a very good time and eventually will be downed, and the kills start to come in. Canadian thinks about planting that shield, but realistically isn't going to need to. Surf's going to be able to do some work here, or at least he should be, but will be bested by Gunner. Not often you see the shotgun fail at those sort of ranges. Still, with the time where it is, into the red time now, it is not going to be a favorable end. There's nothing really worse than a Clash just draining and sapping your will to live as the round falls around your ears.
Yeah, really great Clash play coming out from the 2-time SI champion and former podcast host, Canadian, in that round. Good to see him standing up and helping his teammate with that kind of support role. It was honestly a really cool defensive setup from Shopify Rebellion. I think you can tell Super's been in the lab with that really sick castle setup down towards bottom garage. It's not where M80 chose to attack, so we didn't really get to see it in action. It was more the standard push over towards connector that we got to deal with, but honestly, that castle setup from Ambi was kind of what forced them into that connector push, which ended up being the strong point for SR in that round. So some cool stuff coming out in this also important matchup. Both teams very much aware of how much it means to win this game and take that lone first place spot as the only undefeated team in the North America League. It was last week that Shopify Rebellion locked down their spot in the North America League finals at the end of the year, which will give them an opportunity to play for an SI spot. And if M80 can walk away with 3 wins, 3 points today, then I believe they will also be in that competition.
10 seconds to insertion.
Quite a hefty 6-pick for round number 2. Seeing Monty being favored again, and Hot and Cold really has just snatched the reins away from Kino.
1 round was enough.
We were joking. I mean, he obviously wasn't happy with how the barbed wire was dealt with.
Clearly, that's it.
I don't think Kino did too bad a job, to be honest with him. That's, I'm sure there's a very valid reason, but it will be slightly different in this round. Speaking of different, got a Valkyrie. A lot of information available here for SR. A couple of C4s to make good on that as well. Going to get in and start to deal with some things. Great find onto the mirror window. Rexon, it's a tough job. You got to play the site. But as the site player, you are in charge of the cameras, and well, if you can't keep your mirror window safe, then it is a poor do.
It's another really cool strat from Shopify Rebellion. We've got these Goyo canisters being set up by Spoit. They had Surrey gates from Canadian that were placed really interestingly up on the top floor. It's another new look that they just were not showing in stage 1, despite playing this map quite a bit in the first stage, including in an 8-7 bout against M80 in playoffs. They're really showing some new looks, but it's not deterred M80. They will go for a classic Animus plant just behind the Monty.
Brilliant plan position right now. Gavini should be able to tank that smoke as well. The only downside there is that Hot and Cold has taken a huge amount of damage on the Monty as well. So the smoke has kind of got great value, almost 2 for 1. But it isn't going to make this retake any easier, at least for the meantime. Still all 10 players alive right now. There's some good cutoffs being held as well. It isn't able to sneak through, Spoit will be taken down there. But Ambi already well on his way with this counter defuse. You've got to push up. You've got to challenge him.
Wow.
SR committing to the retake there. I mean, what did M80 think was going to happen? They planted with 5 defenders alive. Like, of course they're just going to throw bodies around it.
Oh, you didn't see it, but Surf put a question mark in the chat after that round. A bit confused how they allowed that disable to just get stuck. They had control up above. Obviously, they got that pick onto Surf, or Spoit, I should say, who was inside of Warehouse. Everybody else on Shopify Rebellion was in the basement, so Animus Hatch was free for the taking. Diffuser was even up there, but didn't have the angle, couldn't stop that disable from going down, and then Kino from just outside the building as well. It was pure chaos from SR, I gotta say, with how aggressive Canadians stepped up inside of Animus. The Toxic Babes continued to come out in through the post plant to make it even more confusing as to what was going on. The fact that they had immediately jumped on to stick that disable, nicely played by Shopify Rebellion. That little Monty plant coming through, planting behind the Montaigne straight through Animus is a strat I remember very fondly from the Manchester Major when this team, back then known as Beast Coast, managed to walk away with a victory. That was before people really got on board with how good shields were, and M80 were kind of trendsetters in that sense.
It was the start, wasn't
throwbacks. Yeah, that was really the first tournament where the world got to see how powerful new shields were.
I'm a big fan of that Monty plant. I mean, you can do it on multiple different sites as well. You just need to get a toe in the threshold. But unfortunately for M80, they weren't able to hold on to it very well at all. I think that Shopify's boldness at the moment is really something to be feared. They're very comfortable right now. And I think that we're going to have to see this clash removed at the end of this round just to give them a little bit more sort of surety. Because if you give Canadian that sort of space to be able to operate behind the shield and still be able to call all the shots, it frees the rest of the team up to just be so flexible. And the way that we're seeing them full commit to things at the moment, and as you've mentioned already, some of these sort of new looks and different ways of holding a map that's getting on a little bit now, isn't it? You know, Labs has been in the rotation for a good amount of time, and teams are fairly set in the way with how they like to do things, but it's nice to see Shopify still bringing some fresh eyes and coming up with some new ideas, and it's going to keep M80 on the toes. That much is for certain.
Funny enough, this is actually a lineup we have seen from them before in Stage 1, with Spoit on the Scopos defending onto Kitchen, but new look or old, still looks like it's coming up for Shopify Rebellion. The opening pick coming their way, Diffuser falling yet to find a kill through the first quarter of this game. Some fire burning out, but it's going to keep getting stalled out. Rexon can't be stopped. Almost 3 kills now as he's just clobbering everybody at front lobby.
M80 looks so one-dimensional in their approaches tonight. I'm not sure what it is. Like, is everyone just going to try and push through lobby? Because that's what we've seen. You're quite literally pushing into Canadian on the Clash and Rexon doing whatever the hell he wants playing Warden. You brought a Ram. Surely there was an intent to get Vert. Surely top floor was the play. Like, okay, I understand that you might be worried about somebody rotating down, but take a little bit of control. And certainly don't take the diffuser. A 1-for-1, I mean, SR can trade this man advantage all day. Gavini, is it going to be an exit frag? Looks like it might be. Canadian knows exactly where you are. Sure, you can pick the diffuser up, but you've got 30 seconds and you've got Spoit and Surf. Surf is 5-1, by the way. Another bit of information that's going to give the game away. Canadian quite literally doesn't need to do anything. We're going to throw a boogie drone at him. Is that going to be the thing that pushes him back? Moving in toward the side door now. Surely there's a cross being held on it, but no, is allowed to make it past and can start to punch over onto Canadian shield. But look at this play. Just needs to keep himself safe. Eventually will be found, but Spoit is there to save the day. Not really that it needed saving. There was still 2 players for SR alive after Canadian falls there. A comical round, or at least a comical end to what was quite a weird round, Jesse.
Yeah, I think we got to get this Clash banned ASAP, and if M80 know what's good for them, I think they'll have to agree. That it's been really the big thorn in their side every single time they've gone for one of these pushes. Canadian is just so good with this operator. Gets answered with a Maverick ban as well to come out from Shopify Rebellion, so just going to make it even more awkward to open up those so important walls in terms of connector and IT especially. We will get attack timeout coming through from Fabian as well. Needs to talk some sense into these M80 guys. I mean, you go back to that push on Kitchen, and they did have full top floor control. The only real player that was up above was Spoit, and he left with that Scopos quite early on. Canadian was kind of playing towards the top of those lobby stairs as well on the Clash, but once those 2 players fell off, it was free for the taking for M80, but they weren't able to do a whole lot with it, and they still had the brunt of their push going straight in through that front door of lobby where they got met by a Clash. They got met by Rexon, who put up a ridiculous couple of shots there to lock things down. The desk highlighted how Rexon was only the 11th highest rated player in the NAL, which compared to some of his teammates is quite low down. But I mean, unless you have the memory of a goldfish, it's pretty obvious that this guy can hit some ridiculous clips when he needs to.
One of my favorite players to watch.
Yeah.
I think Rexon on defense is great. It's on attack where I think he's better on attack. And some of the positions that he finds himself in, I just don't know how somebody is that slippy and has that much foresight as well. It really is it's a difficult role to fulfill, and I think he plays it exceptionally well. Certainly one of my favorites to keep an eye on. But I mean, you're spoiled for choice. Not just with this Shopify lineup, but with the server in general. I mean, you've got great players on both sides. I was really enjoying Hot and Cold's little streak that he went on last stage, because he was in and around like the top 15 rated players for the majority of it. Which, like, it's great for him, but it's not really where you're expecting him to be, is it?
No, and I mean, I think this stage, he's honestly had even more of an opportunity to shine because Kino's kind of taken over that hard support role. You just look at the attacking stats, and I mean, Hot and Cold on attack this stage is a 163 KDR. Blowing his old stats kind of out of the water because he's not locked into those shields all the time. He can get his own kills. Hasn't really been able to live up to that through the first 3 rounds of Nighthaven Labs. Not going to be easy when you're going up against Shopify Rebellion, who themselves are the single best defensive team. Chance for an opening now as Diffuser closes in on Canadian.
He's going to take a little bit of damage in return, though. It's hot and cold with the opener, eventually securing that kill onto the IGL. Will there be a response, though? Diffuser, he's worried about just about everything. He had so many different angles to watch. Ambi swooped on in and put an end to that early roam clear. Now, it's not as if it was the Buck or the Deimos below, it was the Nomad, so maybe looking at trying to get a couple of those air jabs down. I wouldn't really be questioning it if it was Gunnar in that position. But I guess that the ground has now been cleared, and if Ambi rotates back up, there's maybe an assumption that there's no Buck, so the coast could be fairly clear for Gunnar to move through. I think the trade is fairly equal at the moment. It maybe, honestly, gives M80 the edge.
Good opportunity for Spoit. One of the best zombie players that we have here in the North America League, and so if it's unbanned, you know he's going to be taking at Raptors every single time. Going to be such a menace to clear out. Yes, you've got Kino here on the Monty to force some positions, but that doesn't mean it's going to be simple. He's got a player right beside him instead of IT too, so plenty of opportunities to play around these Kibas, get some picks. They don't have any great utility to clear these. No DMRs, no great explosives either. The firebolts might be enough though.
I mean, to be honest, Spoit should be dead there. Like, it's a good clear from M80. I think as soon as he gets, like, sort of pinpointed in that position, he's really cut off from the rest of the team. M80 doing a great job of just whittling things down right now. This attack is much better. There's a lot more activity, and they're not just trying to bang their heads all up against one thing. Gunnar with some unfortunate timing there. The Toxic Babe canister coming out and really stopping Kino from pushing in aggressively. Ambi with another. Well, it was either going to be Ambi or the Toxic Babe, but Ambi got there first. An attempt from M80. And fair play, a good clear of Garage, but on the pivot and the rotation over toward Fish Stairs, it wasn't meant to be. A couple of shots going to get landed now, but I mean, we always knew that Surf was at the top of those Aqua Stairs. It was only going to be a matter of time. SR chalk another round up.
And honestly, Ollie, it just feels like Shopify Rebellion have taken M80 off the shelf. They've opened them up to Chapter 4, and they're reading them like a book. They know exactly where these pushes are coming from over and over. That time, they decided to send 3 people over towards Aqua after securing that main floor, but Surf was there on the smoke to get the information. He hears the Monty on one side, and hears players walking up Fish Stairs on the other. He calls Ambi over to come make a couple of plays, and so the young kid on Shopify Rebellion will continue to rack up the kills that he's been able to secure in this stage. Triple on the round from him. Surf gets the last 2 as well, so it's just a clean round from SR where they're reading their opponents really well. They're hitting those shots to be able to get those kills, and yeah, maybe you lost Canadian down on the bottom floor, but you weren't expecting much productivity out of him anyways. It's been a really impressive start for Shopify Rebellion. The last time they played M80 on this map again, it was 8-7. M80 would be lucky to see this game go 8-7 at this point.
We'd be lucky as well.
Very true, very true.
A fairly one-sided evening, and not necessarily in the scorelines because we have had some close games, but I feel like teams have just been chaining rounds together.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as they get a couple under the belt, the momentum is just enough to continue to take them all the way to the end of the half. I'm kind of questioning M80's push in the previous round because I would have liked it if they'd have gone for more of that connector electrical side thing. There was no clash this time. You've removed the biggest obstacle to what stopped you from being successful there last time. You still have the Monty. It just seems like strange resource allocation and an ability to push. Again, great job of clearing Rafters, then pivot into Fish where there'd been no progress made and there was still a full wealth of utility for the defenders. It seems like at the moment they're kind of attacking SR where they're strongest, and it's difficult to work out, is that because SR are doing a really good job of moving these resources around and being active and where they need to be, or is it because M80 are just trying to run headlong into brick walls? Difficult to tell which it is.
Well, they're certainly trying to walk headfirst into Canadian. Second round, they'll find him. They decided it doesn't work when Kino's on the shield. It doesn't work when Hotten's on the shield, so let's try both.
What's better than one shield? I know, we'll bring 2. We will bring both the Monty and the Blitz. But again, it comes down to, we've seen already tonight, there can be too much of a good thing. Now, okay, we've not got 3 shields, so there's no real cause to panic, and I would wager that M80 are a better caliber team than Envy, regardless of what the standings would say about them. They have been able to push in quite aggressively here. Gavini opens things up with a kill onto Surf. Hot and cold. Going to be inside of control at the moment. Ambi is on the periphery, though. But as soon as these shields come in, it is going to be pain. No! Doesn't manage to land the shot! Spoit with 2 out of nowhere! Oh, it's a highlight reel for Spoit. Make it 4! Diffuser eventually puts an end to him. Locks in a 1 versus 1 with Canadian. Diffuser, he's got about 15 HP. Knows where the kit is, gets the body peek. Knows where Canadian is. This is a must-win engagement for Diffuser. But after such a big round from Spoit, you would still expect it to go SR's way. He's going to head-to-head take that challenge, but Canadian's better.
Oh, M80, they come so close, yet they're still so far. After 2 weeks of the North American League, Diffuser was the single best player on KDR with a 152. But in week 3, he's losing 1v1s to Canadian. That's a fall off. It all comes off the big play from Spoit, of course. What I loved with that Rome game from the Shopify Rebellion is they never played individually. That combo of Ambi and Spoit were together the whole time. And if you're M80 on that clear, you're running through with shields, right? You want to get isolated engagements. In this case, you think you have an isolated engagement as you're just so focused onto Ambi. But Spoit is there still behind his teammate. That entry duo of Shopify Rebellion of Ambi and Spoit that was put together at the start of this year has looked so good ever since they've started playing together. And now you're seeing that really shine through against what should be their toughest opponent this stage. 5-0 start now thanks to heroics from Spoit and a big clutch from Canadian too. This team is just looking head and shoulders above all their competition, especially in BO1s.
It's sometimes difficult to sort of quantify the sort of Ambi and Spoit duo as well, given that there's other players on the roster, Rexon, Surf, that are going to come out and get a ton of kills as well. It's actually difficult to get a lot of kills on this SR team because there's capability from everybody. Everyone's got the ability to do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll see Spoit have a couple of quiet games and you'll sort of be like, oh, you know, is it working? Is he fitting? Yeah, it's still there. It's just there when it's needed. And sometimes, well, c'est la vie, you can't get all the kills all the time. Brilliant position from him in that previous round. And another good example of M80 just banging their heads against it. And again, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. They thought they had isolated players, but there wasn't the live information to really back that up. And it's been something that's been biting them in the backside every single round so far. Final attempt, though, at getting around here on the attack. It would be good to go into the second phase of this game with a little bit of momentum. But I'm unsure if it's going to come from here. They have got the IT walls open. It does seem as though Spoit is just teasing them a little bit on that IT single door, though, just running back and forth.
We have a new bomb site too, don't forget. Round 3, we had kitchen cafeteria, so this will be the first look that M80 get at Shopify Rebellion's storage defense. Top floor has been partly contested. They do have players still in the core, up inside of rafters and inside of commands. That'll be the goal here for M80. Clear these players out. They know Spoit's position and they deal good damage, but they can't get the kill yet.
Canadian instead to open up onto Diffuser. Spoit just gets a little bit too keen for it and is punished by Hot and Cold. A 1-for-1 again, Diffuser falling early. Still puts both teams in a relatively good position. This top floor hasn't been cleared yet, though. Still need to move through and gain this control. Boogie drones, fortunately for M80, are going to make very quick work of that soft floor. They should be able to get some lines onto the side. No C4s, in play at the moment. Both Surf and Canadian have expended them already. So we're not looking for anything explosive as a response, but Gunnar instead is going to walk right up to the single window. Able to find one onto Surf as that vert is the perfect distraction, and it always pays dividends to have someone ready to catch as you forcing those players around. Rexon just gets caught flat-footed. We already knew that there was somebody at the single window. Only now is it traded out. But Hot and Cold again is there. Canadian, 30 HP, 15 seconds. Kino can start to try and get this kit down. He's picked a very safe spot in the bomb site. There is a BP upstairs, but I think all that's saying is, look, there's not much that you can do. You're going to have to try and retake up cargo stairs. And that's going to be an almost impossible task with a Monty stood at the top chuckling away.
May know exactly where he's at now on the camera. Again, realistically, this should not be doable. Canadians got no way past this. Everybody's going to be swinging him the second he gets through. There come the shots, and there's the kill. Nicely closed out by M80. They do win an attack. And that could be big for momentum's sake and just for the fact that you now don't need to go flawless on your own defenses just to push into overtime. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It was really good coordination with the ram up above from Hot and Cold and then Gunner coming in horizontally to get those picks in through the window, just looking into control. Gunner, of course, the former Parabellum star who also spent a little bit of time with this SR core back when they were the Sonics, playing 3 stages, 3 majors, and an SI with this team. So he will be very familiar with the players on this squad. We'll be looking to get this game under wraps too, because you got to imagine of all the players on M80, he would be the one most hoping that this one can be a win for their team.
I think everyone's going to want it, aren't they? I think there's always that sort of idea of playing up against Canadian and getting the win. And like you say, there's little bits of rivalry that get sprinkled in. There's some ex-teammates. There's some situations like Gunner, who's played with them before or played with a similar core. But at least on the night, it has been an SR evening so far. Great round to get from M80 though. If they're only ever going to get one, it's better to get the one at the turn of the half. See if you can translate some of that momentum and good feeling into the next round. In terms of the bans, we've got the Thermite and the Monty, double denial, so nothing really out of the ordinary. We're definitely expecting the Monty to get banned. I think from Shopify's point of view, get rid of the hard breach denial and give yourselves a slightly easier time of things. I am a little bit surprised to not see M80 draw for a shield here in round 1. I think a clash could be good for them. It's seen a lot of play already this evening. It's even seen some banning. And when it's available, it's just so powerful right now.
Yeah, we've seen Hot and Cold play Clash a few times on this bomb site. I would say of the last 8 times they've played this site, he's played it 3. So we do see some Clash occasionally from M80. I would watch out for round 10 if they come back to this bomb site and they want to try a different look. That'd probably be where they're headed. But for now, he's sticking on the Mira. Just a little bit more of a rare pick for him. We've also got Gaveni on a new operator, of course, because this is the first stage where Denari will be available. We saw some really cool setups with this operator from our last game. I think it was Wildcard setting up those Denari setups, wasn't it? Over towards Connector and Electrical.
Yeah, there was a nice one where you could place 3 and get like a sort of L-shape trip. Maybe it was placing 4. I don't know. I've not really gotten in and had a great play around with it yet.
I think it was 4.
Lynx comes out with some really funny words, by the way, when we talk about those trips.
Oh yeah.
He said one the other. They said one the other day, and it was like, he called it like a sentient or something. Weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. Apparently, it's like some sort of L shape. It was probably what we saw earlier.
Trying to put that law degree to good use, you know, learning all the big words.
I just like the triangles and the lines. I'm some simple guy. See the triangles and the lines and think, yep, that'll do for me. Looks like the wall is getting opened there into IT. Bit of pressure coming in on the catwalk as well, as Canadian can use those firebolts to try and dislodge anyone. But I don't think there's anybody actually home right now. Looks as though M80 have already dropped themselves back. They have that confirmed now on the drone. Of course, the wall is left a little bit soft, so there's always the danger of someone rotating out, and especially when you're placing a hard breach down, you need to be cautious. But what better player than Spoit to be covering that angle as you do so? Now with IT and the site wall open, it should be fairly straightforward. That deployable can get deleted. But it's going to be a tricky engagement right now. Brilliant pump from the shotgun, but immediately traded. As Canadian is there to save the day. It's not often that it's Canadian saving Ambi, although I'm unsure if he's going to be able to get picked up. Speaking of downed players, Diffuser and Hot and Cold both down, leaving it all up to Gunner. Ambi still not being recovered. Gunner full white flashed and getting chunked down, and all the kills come at the end as we had downed players strewed all over the bomb site.
Yeah, what a wild push coming out from Shopify Rebellion. They've got so many dimensions to that one. You've got Rexon solo pushing in through Connector, who we saw at the end there. You've got Spoit and Surf kind of teaming up towards IT and Warehouse. Then it was Ambient Canadian coming in at the end, trying to push in through those CC stairs to make something happen. And while it was complicated, while it took a long time to set up, M80 didn't do anything to disrupt that setup. They allowed them to get inside of Raptors without too much of a contest. They allowed them to get in towards Connector without too much of a contest. All the space that Shopify wanted, they got more or less for free. It took them a lot of time, but they didn't have to bleed any bodies until they finally got to the point where they were pushing in through the bomb site. And by that point, the push just had so many angles to it. You talked about how some of M80's pushes looked a little bit one-dimensional. Not the case at all from SR, as they just look like absolute masters of this map. Even when they're all in different positions, the timing is perfect, and they can still trade each other from across the map.
It's the timing that really is the icing on the cake, though, because we saw M80 do a very similar job of clearing Garage and then transitioning over to Fish, and it didn't work. And you might be sat there going, well, you've just praised SR for doing like exactly the same thing. And yes, on the face of it, it's the same thing. But it's the timing of that. And it, does help when engagements are won. But for example, when M80 rotated over toward Aqua, instead of having somebody coming through the door and someone come up the stairs, player through the door gets cut off by a smoke grenade, and then the player coming up the stairs is in a 1v1. When Shopify are going into Aqua, you've got Canadian on the door, you've got Ambi at the bottom of the stairs. It's still a pinch, but there's nothing to stop them from actually making that pinch happen. There's no smoke grenade, there's no denial, there's no area. So it's a lot easier then for Shopify to make good on that and to get the 1-for-1 trade. It wasn't 1-for-1 because Ambi only got downed, but still, that's the difference. Yeah, it's the same strategy. On the face of it, they've done the same thing, but they've just done it a lot better. And it's the small nuances that really make it so. Shopify showing attack is no problem either tonight, as really they've not come up against too much obstacle, and what we were expecting was going to be a much closer game than this. Now, obviously, we've already seen a team get 5 rounds on the bounce, and we've seen teams get 6 rounds on the bounce tonight, so anything's possible. But based off what we've seen, it isn't looking great. Now, that isn't looking great. Canadian going down first.
Yeah, a bit of a weird entry, sandwiching himself between Gunnar and Gaveni. The two Gs on M80 have a great crossfire, and Ambi's just going to try to play the same angle. It goes a bit better. He gets one, but still from the other side. They're set up in such a way where they're always covering each other's backs. It's going to be a trade-out eventually by Spoit, but that was extremely costly. You spend almost 2 full minutes, and you lose 3 of your bodies to just get 3 now from M80. Diffuser and Hot and Cold left to lock down this bomb site. You don't have any information where they're at. You haven't really cleared much beyond just bottom lobby. And Spoit gets down through a nitro cell. Should be able to get recovered, but I mean, this is really stalled out from SR. I did not love the way they tried to clear top floor.
They've probably done Spoit a favor there, because I think he's maybe going to come back on more HP than he was. It's still not going to mean too much, because he's going to be one shot to most guns. That was the pre-placed from Hot and Cold. There's still a lingering Valkyrie camera or 2. I think they're both placed on that first floor in and around vending and kitchen. Surf, going to try and use a little bit of his utility now. There's a drone being watched in... I mean, there's quite a few drones up for SR. Rexon's going to be flicking quite a lot there. But it's the traps that are going to be the biggest problem right now. That and players just stood on the horrible hop-up. That's a disgusting angle to challenge. I can't believe Surf's got that one. Nearly gets the final as well, but Diffuser is better. Swinging with Frost's 9mm there. Didn't need much of an invitation to snub that round out and chalk another one up for M80.
The single best defensive player in the North America League so far with a 192 defensive KDR. Diffuser steps up when it is required to win the 1v1. Again, with how chaotic that top floor went, I mean, they had such a strong crossfire with the hallway being played by Gunnar and then Gavin just playing Pillar. With the wall being opened up there straight into Connector, they had such a good way to shut down that push from Shopify Rebellion. They definitely knew where the player was at inside a Pillar, because we saw that initial entry from Ambi on the sledge. Maybe didn't have perfect info, but definitely had a suspicion that there might be a player inside command, unfortunately, or inside server. Wasn't able to get cleared out, so SR will lose an attack, but the buffer they have built up through that first half will mean they're not too worried about losing just one of those pushes, especially given the fact that it went straight down to a 1v1.
still with their timeout in hand as well. And as we both know, the more the M80 win, the more difficult it gets, because every time they win, they've got to go to a new bomb site and do it all over again. Going to be defending downstairs in the basement. There's quite a hefty roam at the moment, at least a good number of off-site players still just doing a little bit of setup into the early portion of this action phase. Ambi already with a couple of targets for the deathmark tracker of Deimos. But it's likely going to be a full clear just in the setup that has been brought here by M80. It's a speedy one at that. Does Ambi not open his own barricades? Is that the thing? He seems to be pinging these barricades out and just running through them as they open. Well, he's not going to be doing much, is he?
Oh. That's nasty. I mean, just through the wall. You know that they've entered top Aqua, so clean them up. Beauty shot straight onto the entry player. So, yeah, I mean, doesn't need to go through any barricades anymore. Put straight into the grave. And I think that's exactly what M80 were hoping to get out of that roam. You know, start top floor. You don't want to stay here for too long. You don't want to let Shopify get set up into great positions where they can cut you off and stop your rotations back to site. So get yourself that little pick, and now you can fall back to the main floor. Gavin, after that play is now inside of storage, which is where he can deny a plant if it does come down through the main breach. So he's in a really powerful position. Will still need to be cleared out on the side of SR, and they've now got to do it with one less player alive.
Spoy's got a bit of info here, and he's really wanting to make a play off the back of it, but I don't think anyone's accounting for Diffuser's position right now. Hot and cold, great C4 there. There's a brilliant lineup that you can get from downstairs. Canadian will be there for a trade. But given the opening advantage that M80 were able to find, it still leaves them in a deficit only now. Even still, trade back and back. Canadian forced to try and make something happen here along with Surf. He's going to be able to get it outside and try and buddy up with Surf and make something work from this Animus breach, but it's a tall order trying to go for something quite horizontal now into what is still a very hefty setup. I'm not sure that too much has been dealt with. There could be mirror windows down here. There's at least a C4. We know that there are a couple of Valkyrie cameras still lingering as well, so certainly not ideal. A full wealth of utility for Canadian to make something happen, though. A little bit of a cursory glance, just make sure that there's no Valkyrie cameras kicking around inside of Animus. But the clock is going to do the pushing at the moment here for Shopify. They don't have the fortune of time. They can push through with the drone and discover that there is somebody at the bottom of those cargo stairs. They will be smoked off now. Surf with the kit in his hand. He's the player that you're looking toward. He's the one that needs to get in and make something happen. Canadian, deep inside of Animus, tries to run through the Nitro, but just gets caught with his utility in hand. And Gunnar from up above put an end to another round here. M80, they're starting to chain them together a little bit. It's looking a bit dangerous.
I actually thought that was such a cool attempt in the 2v3 from Shopify Rebellion. They had incredible drones. There was one up inside of Warehouse, which was watching for the Animus hatch. There was another one inside of Tank, which showed them it was clear to get in and go for the plant. Canadian then smoked the Animus hatch, so they can't get flanked from up above, then smokes cargo. So they've got a really good way to get into the bomb site. They could have had it all perfectly lined up if not for the fact that Canadian is just getting siege timing, frankly. Pulls out the Capital Bolt at the worst possible moment. Cool attempt. Eventually the vert angle's there as well. So it doesn't quite go the way of Shopify Rebellion. M80 answer back really nicely, and it does prompt attack timeout. Don't think this is going to be as much about that late 2v3 push as it is about the early game, because these last couple of rounds, it's been a pretty consistent trend where Shopify Rebellion have had really good trades. They'll lose a player, and they're answering back really quickly with a great kill backwards. But the problem is they're always losing that first pick. They have not been doing a great job at isolating these roamers and getting early kills on them to set themselves up to play the trade game and then answer things back down to the point where you're in a man advantage for that push. Every time it's either been a man disadvantage when they go for that push, like in the previous round, or the kitchen cafeteria round right before it, where technically it's even numbers, it's 2-on-2, but they have all the information, they have all the positioning, they have the HP advantage too. So I think starting off on a stronger foot is what Shopify Rebellion really need to go for. Sometimes you're going to get wall bangs like in this round, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it, but I mean, that's why you've built up such a buffer, right? As long as they can get one of these rounds where they get that entry, they find some kind of an advantage in the early game, I think they'll be in a strong spot to close out this match.
it looked like they were really trying to dominate that early game as well in the previous round because of the pace that Ambi was moving with. You know, it felt like they had some good information on the drone, and maybe they did, but unfortunately, you can't account for just being wall banged through through a soft wall. It's Siege. It happens. Some pretty unfortunate timing top through bottom in that last round, really, for Shopify when you think about it. But back now to the top floor. M80 have completed somewhat of a rotation. This being the site that would complete that full rotation. They were unsuccessful here in round 7. It was where we credited SR for not only a good clear of garage, but also a well-timed pivot onto those aqua stairs. And the teamwork that went along with it. Now, we've got a very similar lineup and similar kit as to what we saw last time, but I think the addition is going to be Ambi on this IQ. Not going to give too much information. I think it's maybe played in case there was the Valkyrie, which has been a bit of a mainstay so far from M80. But instead, he's going to be given some good opportunities at just getting a couple of pop shots in as he's downstairs in kitchen just causing a nuisance.
Gunner's able to get tracked, of course, playing that Vigil, so you gotta be really careful with where you're playing, if there's gonna be a soft floor and if you're using that gadget or not, but you will be fine. No damage dealt from down below, so this is gonna be really Shopify's potential to go for another 5v5 strong execute. Because there's no real roam clearing to do on this top floor, they can set up for exactly what they want to go for. Wasn't really afforded to them the previous 2 rounds, so this should be another chance unless somebody on M80 gets aggressive, unless we see Gunner swing with the Boss G, unless we see a jump out from someone like Diffuser or Gaveni. Seems like we're going to get Shopify Rebellion at their full strength, pushing 5v5. The big question really does just come down to, can M80 do something before this push comes out to disrupt it? Because I really think they need to.
Yeah, they've got to be active, I think. They've got to make the first move in a lot of instances. This catwalk should be ripe for the taking after the flames dissipate. Spoit can look to try and move on up there. Last time, of course, it was Canadian on the Capital that moves through and opens that wall, but this time Surf's deployed a couple of Hibana pellets onto it. He's going to free Canadian up for other jobs elsewhere, as he does have the diffuser and at the moment is positioned in and around that connector area. Gunner on the flank below. That's what we were asking for. Exactly that. Get active, make something happen. That's almost just destroyed any sort of presence inside a garage, as the rest of the SR players are all sort of stacked up inside a connector and electrical. And we go from what was looking to be a nice 2-dimensional push with a bit of a backstab element to being fairly 1-dimensional. Great angle held there by Diffuser, as Wrexham will be the next player to fall along with Surf. This could be a flawless Jesse. If not for Canadian, it would have been. M80 standing tall right now on Nighthaven Labs. They have won every site that they have been to. They have lost one, but they've still won every site that they've been to.
Yeah.
So they've done it once. Why can't they do it again?
Yeah, and honestly, incredible decision-making just in that late round. I said I wanted somebody to do something aggressive. It was Gunner who ended up, I don't know if he walked down the stairs or if he dropped the hatch, but regardless, he makes his way down through garage and gets the flank off onto Surf for that first pick, onto Spoit, I should say, who was playing the buck inside of Rafters. And that was perfectly played on the Vigil too, because Canadian was actively watching a flank drone. He had a drone inside of Warehouse that was specifically looking for that flank, but because Gunner was on the Vigil, Canadian couldn't tell exactly where he was. He might have been in control, he might have been in storage, he might have even been in the basement or up above. There was no telling where that Vigil was, so Gunner got a really great flank off onto Spoit, gets that opening pick, and then from there the dominoes start to fall. It's another round where Shopify Rebellion aren't able to get that early advantage, so the trade game's going to favor M80. Some good site play coming out in that round as well from Diffuser to stop that push inside a connector. It was honestly really well put together. To me, it feels like M80 have got a really strong read on what their win condition is in this game, and they have done a great job of doing exactly what is needed every single round since round 8.
Will that success continue? SR have got to tidy up this opening engagement. Look at Gunner's positioning right now. Sometimes it takes doing something a little bit crazy to make something happen in these situations. Unfortunately for him, he's looking at the wrong side. of the stack. Will just back off as he hears the drone sent out. Still not going to entirely give up the angle, though. Happy to play there and play there for some time. Look at the lengths that Spoit's going to not to get run out on here. He's really tucking himself away. This is the power of Vigil. Like, obviously, we talk about Vigil as sometimes a comfort pick operator, sometimes a meme pick operator. But when you can't tell where somebody is, it is a bit of a problem. And there's nothing really to give any indication over toward Spoit as to exactly where Gunnar is playing at the moment. And you know, when they've got the boss G, you just don't want to be challenging the angle like that. Spoit gonna fall. I don't think he knows he's downed him. He knows now. Hot and Cold actually beats him to it on the opening engagement this time as he takes Ambi down. Another 2-player deficit here for Shopify.
And they've just been so good at being proactive with these opening picks. Hot and 11 and 8 now through the verticality. They're trying to answer back. Canadian does, though, as he jumps in storage and starts a plant.
Ooh, he's going to have to come off it very briefly. Comes off it to kill one and another. Canadian now can get that plant down. Diffuser tucked in, needs to win this engagement and does. The plant's down, another 1 versus 1 for Canadian. He's already had one here tonight. This is one of the better post plants for an attacker. Diffuser chunked down by half on his first attempt round. That 417 hits like a truck. Canadian needs to land one more shot, but can't. Diffuser with the Scorpion. What an engagement. There's no way he should be winning that.
And talk about revenge. It's the very similar position. It's once again Canadian up against Diffuser in the 1v1, but this time D doesn't lose it again. Well played by Diffuser to save that round. Canadian honestly was the saving grace for SR. It looked like a complete disaster after Hot and Cold and Gunnar got those opening picks, but Canadian made the move. He saw the gap. He jumped into storage. He knew exactly when to pull off. The one thing he couldn't do was win that 1v1. He had the active pings too. Diffuser outside the building, of course, would have been free information for Canadian, but thankfully he got a couple of shots sent his direction, so he knew where Canadian was as well. Played that oh so incredibly, and the 1v3 too from Diffuser. Absolutely disgusting coming out like that. You see a glimpse of the text chat that followed. Absolutely beautiful round coming out from Diffuser. This problem that Shopify Rebellion have developed of not being able to claw back these rounds after they lose the entry is not a new problem. If you isolate to just attacking recovery stats, that is the number of rounds won on attack after you lose the opening engagement, Shopify Rebellion are actually dead last in the North America League, 10th out of 10. Only winning 33% of their attacks if they don't get that entry. This might have been something that M80 were able to look into the stats and read up on before this game even began, because they have been doing such a good job of getting these entries, forcing them to go their way, and then making sure Shopify Rebellion cannot recover.
It would make sense, especially with the style that M80 are bringing tonight, because they are more than happy to challenge on the windows early on. And again, another example of it. Gunnar can't stay away. It's Rexon this time. And, you know, yes, Canadian should be winning that 1 versus 1, but he's also 10 and 7.
Yeah.
Like, what more do you need from him? Look at Ambi, 6 and 8. Rexon, 6 and 9. It's not been a standout game from anyone. And I think if you remove Spoit's 4K from it, it's not really a standout game from him either. Now, fortunately for Spoit, he gets the 4K, so he's 10 and 9, but he could have very easily been 6 and 9.
The wheels are falling off the wagon. It feels like M80 will get defensive start if they go to overtime, so you have to imagine that'll favor them. Got to get there first, but things are looking quite nice for them. Trade back by Spoit. Diffuser goes down. He was the star of the previous round to clutch it up in the 1v3. He will not be able to do the same in round 12. Top floor fully conceded now by M80, allowing Shopify Rebellion to take this space. Of course, there's still a whole nother floor separating them and the bomb site, so SR will need to move quickly with this verticality if they want to get to the bomb site and plant with any time left on that clock.
Time's going to be a big factor in this round. We're at the halfway point, and we've got the skeleton key opening up the floor upstairs. And as you mentioned, we've got to go all the way to the basement. We're going to need some serious big plays from Rebellion players right now, operating on their own. Surf's going to be in and around the breach. Spoit, tasked with a bit of flank watch at the moment. Canadian just holding back a little bit on that blitz. The Dokkaebi call will ring out. It should give a little bit more information over to SR right now. Ambi, really cautious and scared of getting swung from that cargo stair. Still plenty of drones left at the moment. Another call goes out. Gunnar will answer that. Some great information that Rexon can feed across right now.
Definitely know where he's at, but it doesn't matter if they're hitting the site, right? Gunnar can be top floor, but Shopify Rebellion are in a plant spot, and they can start this now.
Spoit is down, and he is on the flank watch. Canadian stopped from getting that plant down as well. That was a double from Hot and Cold. With Spoit down, Ambi's got it all to do. He can't win the first engagement. Another huge clutch up from M80. They've got plot armor on tonight.
Oh, Captain, my Captain, Matthew Stevens steps up so big with the Nitro Cell, is fully aware of where that plant is going down, and I think we kind of called it ahead of time. That clock ticking down at the top of the screen just put so much pressure on Shopify to make a push happen, to get something going. They also knew that Gunnar was roaming around that top floor, so they thought to themselves, guys, we've got to make something happen inside the site right now. This is our window, especially once they killed Kino on the site too. Felt like they had every opportunity to get in and go for that plant, but the spot is just a little predictable and Hot and Cold inside of EXO. Can't be cleared out fast enough by Ambi. If he's there a little bit sooner, if he catches Hot and Cold while he tosses that Nitro, maybe there's a win con there from SR, but the perfect timing that we saw all the way back in round number 7, while it's not here, the pressure has boiled it away, and now Shopify Rebellion will be forced to get an attacking round win at some point in this overtime.
Sometimes we do see side swap on the overtime. What I mean by that is if M80 have won a load of rounds on the defense, there's only so many times that you can attack something and not win, right? There's only so many times that you can make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
Surely Shopify can rectify some of those mistakes. And sometimes we see it happen. If you get a defender-sided game, go into an OT, you expect the defender still to win, but yet it flips on its head and the attackers will start to find a little bit of success. That's what SR need to happen right now, because they have squandered a very healthy lead in this matchup. They had everything going for them. But M80, with that one attacking round, at the end of their attacking phase, it might have been enough. Shopify, they have been successful on that top floor before, but I just don't see the game in that same state at the moment.
Yeah, it's a completely different era at this point. You've got to get something going early on. This has always been the problem for Shopify. You have to imagine Gunnar is hunting somewhere. He's still on that vigil. If there was a ban heading into overtime, I'm sure it would have been removed, but you can't remove it now. The time has passed, and so Gunnar will get this operator for both rounds 13 and 15 if he wants it. Instead, it's the vert angle coming towards Ambi at the bottom of Aqua Stairs. He does get found out. And playing on this IQ, he's again hoping to find Gunnar, but it hasn't been so lucky so far.
Canadian just getting torched a little bit there at the top of these garage stairs as well, trying to transition onto that catwalk. Diffuser been softened up as well. Looks like IT breach has been opened. And the frustrating signal that a vigil is nearby is on every drone, it seems. As soon as we flick onto an SR player, we just can't pin down Gunnar right now. The wall will be opened. Canadian can start to try and make something happen. Ambi's going to go for a reattempt here on these fish stairs. It's been a little bit of time, so maybe there's an opening over there now. But they still need something to happen. Gunnar, head-to-head engagement right now. Needs to try and win this, but he's still got tons of utility to lean back onto. Surf will find the opener. The first time in a very long time here for SR. Immediately traded, though. But Surf's good for more than just one. Gaveni adds on to some of the pain. Canadian low. Rexon, full HP. Going to be needed to contribute right now. As Gaveni and Kino can just dig in. They know where Canadian is. They've got good information on him, but they didn't know about Rexon. Canadian now looking just to try and keep himself as safe as possible. Kino's SMG-12 is going to go a little bit wild at those sort of ranges. Canadian can start to try and get this plant down. Nothing really that Kino can do about this. He has to push up. He has to aggress. He is able to find the kill. Rexon, are you quick enough? Kino's going to stick this. You need to try and hurry things along a little bit. Kino comes off and finds the kill. Oh! He had 2 kills going into this overtime. He just got exactly that when it mattered the most. Fully baited in there.
Kino, he might have the lowest number of kills in the lobby, but it's not how many kills you get, Ollie. It's how impactful they are. And Kino, his last 2 come at the most important moment, clutching up the 1v2. I mean, he played it so perfectly. Knew that the air jabs were going to be set up if he walks directly into server. So instead, he takes the long way around. He goes through IT so that he can avoid the air jab. He gets a better angle on the guy who's playing just inside the pillar. And then Rexon, I don't know if it was intentional or if it was a mistake, but one way or another, he drops through the hatch. And as soon as he does that, Kino knows that he's got his opportunity. If he has to sprint up through that doorway while Rexon, through the room while Rexon is holding him and Canadian's planting, that's one thing. But instead, Rexon is out of the picture. Kino gets 2 1v1s, one of which is on Canadian, who's coming off the diffuser. So Rexon's got to come all the way back up the fish stairs. Can't win the 1v1 in the end. Kino is just too much better, and he pulls the stat line up to 4 and 9. It might not look like much, but man, it is exactly what they needed.
It's the most important 4 and 9 of the night. That's all that matters. The rest of his team's on double digits.
Yeah.
Everyone else is going to have backache in the morning. But Kino's 4 and 9 is what has put M80 onto a map point and given them a lead for the first time in this map tonight. Now, all they've got to do is convert onto that. They've already been good for 1 attacking round tonight. They've just got to do it again. And if there's one thing that's in their favor, it is momentum. They have been dominating the opening pick. They've been fantastic on the trades. Shopify are going to be starting to doubt themselves a little bit here. Kind of saw it on the player cams a little bit earlier. Ambi looked really dejected earlier when we flicked onto his. Just looked like it was one of those days where nothing they do is working out. Now, we've seen that they've had their fair share of luck in this series, but aside from those couple of moments, there's really not been too much that they've been able to do and get away with. Everything has been punished. And I think that just speaks to how on top of it M80 are.
6 and 1 feels like a decade ago at this point. Gunner doing great work with the gridlock top floor. These roamers are sticking around in the mid floor. Spoid up top and electrical too. So lots of different fronts right now for M80 where they've got to worry about these aggressive roamers. They know if they can win the early game, if they can kill some of these roam players, and that's going to make all the difference. In sight, you're starting to deal with some of this utility. Even though you missed the first shot, you can get the Goyo the second time. The fact that he's popping that Goyo might read into the fact that M80 are going to finish off with an assembly breach plant just under the smokes. They've got plenty of smokes to try to pull that. And of course, with Kino holding the fuse kit on the Monty, could be a good option for them. Alternatively, they're here inside a cafeteria. Walking down vending stairs is going to be a very strong plan, but you've got to get past these players on the stairs first.
Nice use of the laser gate there as well. It's just going to force another piece of utility to be used to burn it. Canadian can choose to play here a little bit as well. There's not too much worry if a Monty's trying to crouch walk through, especially with it being tin openered. Great C4 from Rexon. Some good team play being displayed. You've got to be aware of that C4. Like I feel like you can't be making that push unless you've sent like a little EMP onto it, or you've at least got visual confirmation that there's no C4. Because that's the Monty done and dusted. Not from the vert, but from the stairs. Canadian will find another onto diffuser. And again, another attempt at a vending push that we've seen tonight. I'm not sure we've seen one work yet, Jesse.
It's so difficult to deal with that combo, right? The Nitro down below and one guy on the stairs. Canadian's been lights out for his team, and he takes a lot of damage from this nade, but he still holds his position. Finally dies to hot and cold, but there's 2 more at the bottom of these stairs waiting for the twitch.
Well, they're not going to have to wait long. Hot and cold gives himself up there to Ambi. Gaveni trying to make something happen, but he's got a mirror window to challenge. There's no way he should be winning that. It's going to be a short-lived engagement regardless, as he will be downed and leave a lot for Gunner to do. Unable to do so. SR get their first round in forever. Take us all the way to 7-7. But with the way this game's gone, they are going to have to do something that they haven't done before, and that is win a round on the attack tonight.
It's been a hot minute since they've been here, that's for sure. It was a good probably 40 minutes ago at this point where I said, and I quote, M80 would be lucky to see an 8-7 tonight. Well,
and I said that we would be lucky too. So it turns out we're lucky.
It's a lucky night. You know, we've had some interesting games today, Ollie. We started the day off with a tech pause and then eventually a 4v5 as players had internet problems. Then we've seen a 7-0 following that, some very streaky matches, but the battle between the last two undefeated teams in Stage 2 has absolutely lived up to its potential. M80 and Shopify Rebellion have both played a fantastic game of Siege here tonight. We've seen some really cool stuff, the defenses especially, but even some pushes. Maybe they haven't worked out all the time, but there have been some really cool ideas, I think, from both squads in terms of getting in, getting the plant down, trying to make something of a bad situation. This last round, I think, just like every other defense for M80 before it, will get determined by the opening picks. Rounds 7 through 12, every single entry was won by M80. They went 6-0 in the second half on opening picks, converted 5 of those to get us to overtime. But since swapping sides, Shopify have gone back-to-back for entries. Surf got the first, Rex in the second. The winner of the first gunfight in this round is going to determine a ton in terms of how this game ends.
Swapping mags.
SR haven't really gone for the most guaranteed way of, or the guaranteed lineup, should I say, of discovering and enabling that entry either. They've not gone for global ops. There's no Dokkaebi. There's no one that brings a ton of extra drones. It's in some ways a little bit old school.
Yeah.
But you can tell that there's already like a little bit of care and attention being paid in the sort of getting to the building. A lot of players either challenging, looking long onto narrow windows or doors, or just getting themselves up onto the roof so they can jump in a drone and start performing the job on the round. Nobody wanting to be that first player to die to Gunnar and that boss GA-Cog because he's been such a nightmare with it.
He has. And honestly, if we don't see a gunfight for the first 2 minutes, I think that favors Shopify. If they get into a 5v5 execute where they're able to group up and get exactly the space that they want to, they're going to be feeling really good. I will say that has not happened so far. IT is looking like a disaster at the moment. You don't technically need to walk in this, but you have to have a good angle in it. And with the Azami breach where it is, I mean, there's a lot more work to be done if they want to be able to stop that plant getting denied vertically.
It sounds like the mute jammer has been dealt with, so that wall now will be open, and it should make clearing catwalk a little bit easier. Giveni going to come in with that opening pick. It's been so important, but it might not matter as Spoit and Ambi both respond with ones of their own. An opening pick, yep, fine, but a man count advantage. SR will take that. Gunnar, primed and ready at the moment. Got a great long angle. Ooh, some very important information being found out on the drone there as well. Hot and cold below with a C4. That will be ringing through the ears of SR players right now as something to watch out for. 2 shots and 2 shots missed. We never see Gunnar fluff it like that. Ambi, he's low, but he's still in the fight. And this is a far from optimal setup that Gunnar finds himself with. Needs to be landing shots with that boss G. It's a dangerous game you're playing. Keep peeking that breach, but he's going to be forced back.
He deals 80 damage to Ambi, but with the new boss G, that's not going to be enough. Stalling out a little bit from SR, but now a 2-man advantage. Spoit gets a kill. The Nitro, though, it stops the plant. They're still in it for M80.
That could be huge. The Nitro there. We're now into the red time. That needs recovering, and it needs putting down on the floor. Surely this one doesn't just go down to the clock. Kino, he's on for 2 on the round. Could he make it 3? Yes, he can. He can't believe it himself. 2 kills for the majority of the game, and then in the overtime comes out with 5 bangers to secure it for M80. One of these teams, well, both of these teams came into this matchup unbeaten. SR looked so good for so long, but you've got to ask yourself the question, was that just because they started on the defense? Because their attacks left a lot to be desired tonight.
Well, Ollie, in BO1s, that's what it comes down to. And despite a 15-0 record, Shopify Rebellion have, for the first time in their history, lost a best of 1. M80, a fantastic game to come out from them. The game that we were all waiting for absolutely lived up to expectations. You want to hear the interview with our winners, so we've got a short break before that, but stick around because a chat with M80 is coming up right after this.
Fight him.
Yep, you're good.
You got the case. I killed him.
He's down.
Welcome below, and that's crazy. Oh, that's crazy.
User disconnected from your channel.
Wow.
M80, bring it back. That was a 6-1 lead.
We
for
knew it was going to happen.
Shopify.
We knew it was going to
Nah,
happen.
don't
M80 had
even.
it.
You
We
guys
knew
were
M80
sitting
had
there going, "Oh, I think we might have effed up."
You don't got to prove
Well, they were down 6-1.
Yeah, I'm not proving that because I'm not gonna record that. But that's literally what you both said. But honestly, the resilience coming through from M80 has been incredible. They are gonna be the team that remains undefeated. We have Gunner as well. First off, huge congratulations. That was a crazy game. But
Thank you.
dude, 6-1 for Shopify. How'd you guys stay in it mentally to actually be able to turn it around? Like, what's going on?
I mean, we knew today was gonna be hell. Two of us are not feeling very great. Had to take off a block of scrims yesterday, and we kind of were just like, we just went into it like, fuck it, like let's just run around, have fun.
Are you one of those players?
I am one of those players. So if I have to look away and cough, I'm sorry. But I mean, I don't know. Like we were down 6. Like those rounds Spoit is 4K'd like 180, 180. Like you would think that we're sitting like we were just laughing like, what the fuck just happened? Like because I still don't know. Like I don't know how I died. Like it was insane. I don't know. That was just a game of all time for us. Like that was hilarious.
It was only so.
Troy losing a 1v1 with the guy outside. Like it was. I don't even know.
It was only close because you guys are sick. If you guys weren't sick, it would have
Yeah,
been.
no. If we had that extra map of block of practice yesterday, it's clean sweep.
That being said, I mean, you guys defeated Shopify's undefeated BO1 series. They were 14-0. Was there any pressure going into it, going up against Shopify? Obviously, you guys are aiming for consistency this stage. You guys are currently going to be #1 undefeated yourselves. Is there any pressure coming into today's match and now going forward now that you guys are undefeated?
No. I mean, this was our best, me personally, my best NAL start record-wise. I've never even started 4-0. And a group stage, there's never really pressure just because it's top 6. It's really not hard to get into playoffs, you know? But I do think that's like what we struggled with last stage was just not taking it a game by game and thinking into the future for a lot of stuff. And I think a big thing we changed, you know, as a team is our mindset going into stuff. Which one game at a time, just one practice at a time, one round at a time. Like I literally just always say every time, just one round at a time. We've thrown, we've gotten shit on, I don't know, we're winning miraculous games this stage and it just feels like it's clicking and working. So there's really, really no pressure.
Well, clearly it's working. You guys are flawless now. I mean, you knocked out SR already. Well, not knocked out, but you beat them. You got that rematch win. I mean, we did call it here on the desk that we had you guys winning that game. I do want to talk about your guys' attacks. I mean, both you guys and SR's attacks just were not there. Kind of just from your end, kind of what was going wrong outside of obviously what we could see. I'm just curious from you and what the viewers might want to hear from your end.
I mean, SR against what we were attacking was just stuffing us. We were doing a lot of 5-overs today. And they didn't let us even have any inch to breathe. We never even got to the late round hardly. We got a post playing down, they retake, but for the most part, it was just we were just getting stuffed. And we weren't really adapting to that. We were kind of just sticking to I think what we were comfortable with, and I think that was kind of our flaw today. Instead of just kind of switching it up, we wanted to stay comfortable in what we know.
So
and that's not always the best thing to do.
So is Fabian going to be speaking to you guys after this?
He was laughing. I mean, I'm
Okay,
sure
well,
that was
that's
a game
good.
to watch for him. So maybe he has some words.
Well, congratulations, Gunnar. You guys are looking good.
Thank you.
Either way, I mean, good vibes all around from you guys. Well-deserved win. The resilience has actually been incredible to see from that 6-1 lead that Shopify had. To be able to stay in it, wow, amazing. Undefeated still on the stage. You guys are doing incredible. We'll see you around for another interview. Enjoy your evening and go celebrate.
Thank you.
No, go feel better. He's sick.
Hill.
Oh, yeah, go feel better too. Forgot about that. Whoops.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Dude, what? Go feel better?
Yeah,
he literally
he's-
just had a great game.
Listen,
Like, go feel
winning
better.
ain't helping your immune system. After a Pro League match, like I'm sure his immune system is even more upset than what it was before, given how much energy you have to sink into a
Alright,
game
go
like
take a
that.
nap. Would that
So
help?
He needs more than a nap. He needs some chicken noodle soup. Fabian better get on that. But I mean, it was a really good game to say the least. I mean,
Absolutely.
not on the attacking side. I can't really give praise for either team on their attacks, but on the defenses, absolutely. Both teams were doing it instrumentally well, being able to just thwart off each attack that each one was throwing back. It just really came down to M80, especially in those last rounds. Kino, sure, he wasn't having a good performance throughout the game, but so many rounds, I mean, Jesse said it best, sure, you know, those kills might not be that important, but it's how it impacts the rounds. And the fact of the matter, he had so many impactful rounds towards the end of that game that kept M80 alive and allowed them to get the win in this series.
I mean, him having that clutch with a shotgun and obviously this last round, being able to play down low, I feel like that's a little bit of an oversight for Shopify. I feel like losing that many rounds to let it go that far definitely got in their head a little bit, which is the first time I could say we've seen Shopify get shaken up by losing rounds, because oversight and Kino downstairs and then him downstairs, not only C4ing the plant.
That's disrespectful.
Come on, that's
That's disrespectful. Sorry to interrupt.
That's sad. Kino downstairs, and then Kino was C4 the plant, and then shotgun the last guy. But that was sad. I mean, obviously, I'm sure, you know, SR is going to make playoffs. They're not really too worried about it, but I would feel sick personally, you know, if I lost 6-1. I'm sure they will definitely look back at it and try to make sure that they tighten up on it. But at the same time as Kino having great rounds, I mean, Shopify had some great rounds. Like Gunnar said, Spoyd having two amazing 4Ks on their defensive side. It was just defensive side of Labs today and came down to the wire.
Yeah, and do be like that sometimes. But you know, at least like from all the games that we had today, we kept on saying, oh, this one should be close. This one should be close. This one should be close. And finally, we got one game that was really incredibly close, even though for some reason it didn't start off like it was. So for you guys at home, a little reminder, when it comes to the games that we have looked at today, we started off with, I mean, we'll bring the schedule up at some point. There we go. Thank you, because I do have a memory of a goldfish sometimes. 7-2 start for SSG, 7-0 for Cloud9, a second one under their belt. I mean, from all these games, like, this truly was the most competitive one.
Yeah.
That's all we can say.
By far. Well, I mean, I don't want to discredit the Oxygen one.
Yeah,
I thought that was just a really good game
Yeah.
from Oxygen. And even to say the Envy versus Wildcard, that was another very good game. Realistically, Envy probably could have closed that out 7-1. I know we heard,
you're nitpicking.
I know we heard JJ say, we like it. We like it to be this difficult. No, you don't. You want to close games out early, but as fact of the matter, it was still a very good game, to say the least, especially from those last 3 games.
Yeah, they always say never meet your heroes. I really hope that he never meets you, because you're such a negative Nancy sometimes.
Nah, I gave them all the praise that they deserve.
Right.
Anyways, so Blacklight Detail as well in regards to this day is going to be going to Kino as well. Another really clutch performance from him coming through. I mean, we've seen it last week as well when he had that one clutch play that allowed them to stay in the game. Repeating that again against Shopify. Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, this 2v1, obviously the heads-up play of understanding that he heard one of the players drop down the hatch, gets the first pick onto the player defusing, instantly hops on it to bait Rexon to have to push him. Rexon had the pistol out, you know, a couple shots with the main gun, could have maybe gotten Kino, but unfortunately it didn't, and Kino takes out the pump in the last second, gets it down, has enough time for the defuse.
Has a little fun with it.
Yeah, really well played for him to understand, oh, the guy dropped the hatch, let me take this 1v1. That was very smart. Hits the diffuser to force Rexon to have to push him. I mean, he played it very well, and those are big moments. Kino stays living up to it and shooting up, turning up in those moments, and also shooting up the opponent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long day. Not really, actually, because the game has gone pretty fast, but we still have more Siege coming your way tomorrow. Another day of regular stage means another day of best of fives. But first, the standings. It's still just 1 point difference. I mean, can we just hold on for a second? Envy is number 3 with 12 points, tied with Oxygen.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, they're close to being able to solidify themselves in the playoffs, obviously, just because, you know, last stage we talked about it. Sixth place was between 6-7 points. 6-7. That being said, you know, when you have Standby and Cruelty both at 0, that's the tough part. That's obviously, you know, points are just getting that much scarier to come across for those teams.
I mean, we got Super Week coming up too. So the fact of the matter is some of these teams have no points yet tomorrow's a good chance to possibly get 3 points. And then, like I said, we jump into Super Week, and then it's going to be done at that point. And again, you have to bridge that gap.
Yeah, at that point, it's not really looking good, bruv. But for tomorrow, it is looking pretty good because we do have 5 best of ones once again, starting off with DZ Envy, C9, SSG, Oxygen, Shopify. That should be another certified banger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Oxygen and Shopify definitely is going to be really close. I hate to say it. I'm excited for Dark Zero Envy. I'm really liking the way Envy has been playing recently. I feel like this is another challenge for them to see if they can get more points, beat now an even higher team above Wildcard, and we'll see if we can get there. And then obviously, game of the day, Cruelty M80.
That's so funny because our producer, Ferme, was literally just saying to me, that's the game of the day because they beat them last time. So,
I was just about to say, are we about to see a repeat of the last stage? The only team that's going to knock M80 off of their winning streak is going to be Cruelty for whatever reason. Hopefully that's not the case.
Don't go bank.
Actually, no, that'd be great. It would suck for M80, but for the plot, I would very much like that.
Sure.
Maybe.
Either way, thank you guys so much for tuning in with us today. We're going to be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. You can follow the Twitch channel just so you can stay up to date when we go live. Otherwise, take care of yourselves. We'll see you tomorrow.